Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. I will be reviewing episode 13, and general impressions. What did I think of episode 13? Well, it was a recap episode, so that's pretty much your answer right there. When I realized that this was a recap episode, I was just like, oh, really? A recap episode this early in the show? Now, I thought the way they did it was interesting. It was kind of unique. It wasn't like, Yugi and Kaiba riding in a helicopter to the, Yugi and Janucci duel right when Marek was possessing Janucci. I think that's one of the more iconic recap scenes we had. We had the one in Arc 5, when they just first entered Heartland. But the thing there is, one was, I think, 60, 70 episodes into the show. The Arc 5 one was 100 episodes into the show. This was 13 episodes into Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, and we probably got only about 4 to 5 minutes of new footage. So it's going to be probably tough to... This probably will be my shortest review regarding Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. Then again, I'll probably go on some tirade, and I'll check the time, and it'll somehow end up always being like 12, 13 minutes, but we'll see. So if the video is a little shorter, that's why. So generally speaking, I never like to say whether recap episodes are good or bad, because I just feel like they should be a completely different segment, if that makes any sense. I question the show's choice to do a recap episode this early. I like how, we have another... I can't even say it's a plot episode, but it's another non-dueling episode. That's the best way you can refer to it as. We have another non-dueling episode, which is cool, and they continue to follow the pattern of duel, non-duel, duel, non-duel, which I like. I like how they let us kind of relax week in and week out, where we don't need to, rush into every single duel. That being said, this was a perfect chance to give Emma some backstory, to give Emma some, development, you can say, and make the viewer understand why Emma is the way she is. She is an alluring ghost girl. That's her VR name. She's a beautiful character. She calls herself beautiful. She's a little arrogant. She's definitely confident, and she's money hungry. She's greedy. She's a hunter. She's a mercenary. She's a character that I think has been built up pretty well thus far, and I know she's a big fan favorite in the community. I know a lot of people love her. You guys know my opinion on her. I don't like people that are like that, so in turn, I don't really like Emma. I don't trust her at all. That being said, I don't like her because I think she's a bad character. I think she's actually been written really well. I just don't like those kind of characters. I don't like those kind of people because I just don't like people that are only in it for the money. Emma is a character that if a hitman went up to her and said, I'll give you $100,000 if you tell me where your family is so I can kill them, she would say, all right, yeah, they're at the bar down on, 9th Street. Give me my money. She's that kind of person. And, okay, maybe that's a little extreme, but that's the reason that I just don't like people like that. I don't like characters that are money hungry, that are greedy, that are arrogant, and she's all of the above. Now, this was a perfect time before the duel began, and we might get this in the next coming episodes, to make me and to make the viewer kind of understand why she's this way. And a lot of people love villains, not because of their villainous acts, but because of their backstories. Villains tend to have some of the most complex backstories, the most amazing and, hardcore backstories in all of backstory history, I guess you can say. I can't think of the word. And I'm not saying Emma is a villain, but there's no way you can convince me she is a heroic figure right now in this show. She is probably the most... I wouldn't even say she's gray area. I would say she is on the side. I would say she's more evil than heroic. It personally, that's just kind of what I've experienced with her. Sure, she's had some kind of good moments where she had the limo waiting for Akira in the real world so he could visit his sister. So she's had kind of humanity moments like that, and I want to see more humanity moments. I want to just understand more about Emma, and I'm sure she's going to grow on me. I'm sure by the end of the show, she's not going to be some evil mercenary. Then again, we don't really know. We don't know the route they're going to go. I do get a lot of My Valentine vibes from her, and it took a while before Mai really came around, but she did eventually come around. And I just want to know, is Emma doing this because she had maybe a horrible childhood, or she had to make ends meet? I want to know more about her, and I thought this episode would have been a good chance to learn more about her, and we didn't get anything. We got a recap episode instead. So this was the first episode of VRains where I can honestly say I was pretty disappointed. This is the first episode of VRains that I wouldn't say was good. At least good, if not great. This episode was just okay, and again, I don't like to say whether recap episodes are good or bad because, as I said, I feel like they should just be an entirely different category. But this was maybe even a missed opportunity to give us more plot. Then again, to be kind of there's always, two coins to every argument. And on the other side of it, when you have an anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! That runs week in and week out for 3 years, that's going to run for the better part of 3 years, probably have 120, 130, 140 episodes, you are definitely not going to be able to make every single episode high octane, high energy, which I would argue pretty much all of the first 12 episodes were, at least in my opinion. All of the first 12 episodes were really, really enjoyable. We got a lot of plot. We got some, good dueling action. It's not going to be able to keep up. And so this episode definitely resembled that. And honestly, if 1 out of every 13 episodes misses the mark, that will probably be a total of 10 episodes out of 130 that miss the mark, while the other 120 are high octane, hopefully incredible, hopefully really enjoyable episodes. So from that point of view, I'm okay with it. I then again, from the other point of view, it's like a recap episode this early just seems kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. It's just as simple as that. One thing that I really liked was Emma's characterization, though, in this episode. First of all, the frog and the pigeon, these poor bastards, they spend their entire bonus checks, their entire budget to get this videotape, to get this footage, to get this exclusive interview with Emma, and they're doing it, and they're about to publish it, and Yusaku just so casually is like, oh yeah, there's one last tape I have to delete, and he deletes this tape, and they lose everything. That's actually how the episode ends. We don't really have too much interaction between Yusaku and Kusanagi because there wasn't really much interaction between anyone. We know Kusanagi is exhausted from constantly deleting Playmaker footage off of the interweb, and that's why Yusaku is the one at the end of this episode, right before he goes home. He's the one doing it. Kusanagi is resting. So Yusaku, maybe they're showing that he is a good friend. These two really are good friends, and Yusaku understands that Kusanagi's tired, he needs a break, he's giving him a break to, do his job for him and to help out with the workload, I guess you can say. So that was kind of a cool bro moment between those two. Before I get more into Emma's characterization, before I get into it at all, I haven't really touched upon it yet, which I actually really enjoyed in this episode, the small bits and pieces we saw. The episode begins with Emma approaching Kusanagi's hot dog truck and talking about the Charisma Duelist, and you wonder if she knows. You wonder if it was by coincidence, but it seems too strange to me that this was coincidental. You wonder if she knows that this is the man, or this is the area, or this is the truck that let me into the data storm, and she was able to kind of backlog whatever signal she got that led her into the storm. You just wonder if that was a coincidence or not, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we learn during the duel that Emma purposely went to that truck. And also the duel, based on the preview, looks like it's going to take place in a weird area. They are going to duel next episode. Yusaku accepts the challenge. It also looks like in the next episode, Akira is going to be relieved from his position based on the preview. And we have this real, looks like, I think it's the Kitamura guy that Soltech referred to last episode, who looks like a real jerk-off, is going to be taking over Akira's spot. So that'll be an interesting dynamic to see. And I guess we have Akira's employee that's smitten with him. She looks like she's really in love with him in the preview. The preview is probably the best part of the episode, honestly. But yeah, so interesting to see if Emma will admit to Yusaku in the next episode. Then again, I guess she would have to admit that she's Emma. So we don't know if they're going to find out. They found out that Aoi was Blue Angel. We don't know if they'll find out that Emma is Ghost Girl. That'll be another interesting dynamic. But what I loved about Emma's characterization in this episode, she makes her debut in the alleyway. Not her debut, but she makes her episode appearance debut as Ghost Girl in the alleyway when Yamamoto and the pigeon are there. And she's just like, I'm more beautiful than a gang. She gives them a little piece of data. Like, she knows what she's doing. She really knows what she's doing. She gives them a small piece of data to prove that she has the footage. She collects the massive payment. She sends them the rest of the data. She leaves, and she talks very seductively and flirty. And that's what I loved about her. In the interview, what I noticed immediately, and I'm sure what a lot of people noticed, is she kept crossing her legs. And this is a human trait that when someone keeps crossing their legs, they're trying to bring attention, because again, I have taken a few psychology classes, they're trying to bring attention to their legs. They're trying to seduce, maybe if it's a woman at a bar, she's trying to seduce a male that she's looking at, or a female, whatever way she swings. And that is exactly what Ghost Girl is doing in this interview. She keeps kind of fidgeting and crossing her legs, and she talks very seductively and flirty, and I really do like that persona about her, that she is a lot more confident in her body, I guess you can say, and it really shows in this interview. And I can't think of a character besides she just reminds me so much of Mai Valentine. She really, really does. She's almost like a splitting image, personality-wise, and confidence-wise, and beauty-wise, and will it be dueling ability-wise as well? I guess we're going to have to see, but I like when they do those small body language hints. You saw it with Emma in this episode with her constantly crossing her legs, and you saw it in episode 6 when Aoi was in the duel club. She was standing in a very protective position where she had her hand around her other arm, and that is like a well-known body language symbol for being scared, for being nervous, for being anxious, for not liking the spotlight on you. So I like how they're doing these small little kind of psychology, body language, subtle things that most people might not pick up on. Of course, myself, where I took a class literally just studying body language for the most part, and I have to kind of know what body language means based on my position right now as a resident assistant, be able to tell kind of what people are feeling and whatnot. So I know a lot more about it than the average person, but that's usually what it means. When someone crosses their legs a lot like that, they're trying to bring attention to their legs. It's a seductive, flirty thing, and something subtle like that I thought was actually brilliant. So even though we only got like 4 to 5 minutes, it was still a positive review, because I don't like to be negative. Of course, I could have ranted on how this was a flashback episode and a recap episode so early in the show, which I don't really like, to be honest, but you know what, we're just going to have to live with it, and I try to be as positive as I can. And looking at the time, I somehow have managed to ramble on for as long as I normally do. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you thought about the episode down below. More importantly, because I know most people's opinions, including mine on the episode, are not going to be so great, let me know what you think of Emma. Let me know do you think I was being a little too harsh on her, or do you think my thoughts on her being, a kind of more evil than heroic are justified, and that might change as the show goes on, because I want it to change. I want to root for Emma, but I want to know more about her and why she is the way she is. So let me know all your thoughts on that. Thank you guys, as always, so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an incredible day.